As NASCAR fans, we certainly go through trials and tribulations, and so do the drivers that we root for. Today we're going to be talking about and honoring the drivers that we have lost. Now, this video is going to be talking about drivers that we have lost in cases of them passing away abruptly. Drivers like Cale Yarbrough, Davey Allison, or Ned Jarrett that died peacefully of old age will not be included in this, but just know I respect the hell out of those guys. They were absolutely badass and represent the true era of NASCAR, the era that put NASCAR on the map, the trailblazing era, if you will. This video is going to be honoring drivers that we have lost abruptly, recently-ish. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and to all these drivers, I respect them greatly, and if their families or friends see this video, just know Jesus is with you, and this video is to honor your loved one and your friend. And yeah, this video is not at all me profiting off of it, just know that. So here we go. Timothy Lee Richmond was born in Ashland, Ohio in 1955. Tim Richmond originally began in open wheel racing, such as IndyCar and other open wheel, as I previously alluded to, racing. However, he would eventually head south and begin competing in NASCAR, originally for the Raymond Beadle team. Raymond Beadle, of course, a legend in drag racing, who we unfortunately lost in 2014. But Tim Richmond would not start off slow. He would hit the ground and immediately start running, as he would be competitive right off the bat, winning multiple races for Raymond Beadle and eventually for Rick Hendrick. Due to controversial situations, in 1989, he passed of AIDS complications. It's a very, very sensitive topic in the NASCAR community. A lot of people believe that NASCAR may or may not have fabricated his drug tests as an ability to create a narrative and paint Tim Richmond as a bad and dangerous guy, even though he really wasn't, and he was one of their true stars. Can you imagine a Tim Richmond, Dale Earnhardt, Davey Allison rivalry? How great that could have been. All three of all-time greats. Well, Tim Richmond may have died young, but make no mistake, he truly was one of a kind, and no doubt had unfinished business in his NASCAR career and as a person. Alan Dennis Kulwicki was born in Greenfield, Wisconsin in 1954. Growing up, racing was a huge deal to him, especially in the Wisconsin Midwestern scene. And it would not take Alan long to find success at the local scene before eventually, over the course of time, acquiring a NASCAR team known as AK Racing. And throughout the late 80s and early 90s would find considerable success, including, in my opinion, one of the greatest upsets of all time, him winning the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup Series Championship over the likes of Bill Elliott, Davey Allison, Mark Martin, Kyle Petty, Harry Gant, and others, and it was what is considered one of the greatest races of all time. Seriously, go watch the 1992 Hooters 500. It's a legendary race. But yeah, unfortunately, we lost him in Tennessee in a plane accident when his plane engine entered ice and lost control and crashed into a field. In one of the saddest years in NASCAR history, as you'll find out again later. Alan Kulwicki was a legend, and he'll always be a legend, and in my opinion, the smartest man to ever compete in NASCAR. Rest in peace, Polish Prince, Special K, an absolute legend in the sport and to the people in the Midwest racing scene. David Carl Allison, born 1961 in Hollywood, Florida. Davey Allison, at a young age, due to his father Bobby and uncle Donnie, would fall in love with racing and would begin racing almost immediately. And upon racing almost immediately, would find immediate success. Davey Allison would not take long for him to get to the Winston Cup Series, and upon getting to the Cup Series, immediately solidified himself as a star. With 18 career victories, could have been so much more. if not for the unfortunate incident in 1993 when he was arriving at Talladega, was involved in a terrible helicopter accident that killed him and another individual. It was a terrible deal, especially for the Allison family, given that just 1 year prior, his little brother, Clifford Allison, was killed in a Busch Series accident at Michigan. So it was a very, very tough deal for Bobby and Judy Allison, but the Allisons are strong people, and they were able to push through. And while Davey may be gone, his legacy will forever be remembered. And if there was ever the definition of an absolute badass, Davey Allison definitely fits that category. He definitely helped put Robert Yates Racing on the map for sure, and that is why that 28 Haviland car is so iconic and even underrated. Yeah, I don't really see that car talked about a lot. I think it's an awesome car. So yeah, Davey Allison will never be forgotten. He will be remembered as one of the greatest drivers of all time, but also one of the greatest what-ifs. No doubt he would have won a championship and many more races, but that's just the way history goes sometimes. And Davey, even though he died before I was born, he's a legend to me. Kyle Thomas Busch was born in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1985 with the nickname Rowdy, as you'll soon find out. Kyle Busch, in my opinion, is the greatest driver of the 21st century. Say what you want about Jeff Gordon. Say what you want about Jimmy Johnson. There is not another driver that has competed this century that it didn't matter which series he was competing in. You could never count him out. In fact, he was always a favorite. It didn't matter if it was Atlanta, Daytona, Watkins Glen, Bristol. He was favorite. Kyle Busch was known for his aggressive driving style, and I admit I was never a fan of him because, I'm a Hendrick fan and all that, but I respected his talent and his craft behind the wheel, and he really grew up as an individual. Him, Samantha, Brexton, and then Lennox. He raced alongside his brother Kurt. They were always, an interesting pair to see on the racetrack. Kyle Busch passed in May of 2026 of sepsis and pneumonia, which could have been prevented, but say what you want there. Kyle Busch will forever have a place in my heart. He was a part of my childhood, and seeing his name not on entry list just is a feeling that I don't like, but I understand. Regardless, it was his time to go, and he will always have a place in my heart. He will always be the 2015 and 2019 champion. More wins than any other driver in NASCAR history combined. 269, something like that. But yeah, regardless, he was going to guarantee kick your favorite driver's ass every week. He kicked my favorite driver's ass often, Jimmy Johnson. But yeah, rest in peace, Kyle Busch. You'll forever have a place in my heart. And yeah, legends never die, and Kyle will never die. Thank you, Rowdy. Gregory Jack Biffle was born in 1969 in Vancouver, Washington. Definitely one of the more unique instances of a career in NASCAR history. Greg Biffle did not start racing in NASCAR until his late 20s, which nowadays is unfathomable, but back then was pretty normal. Greg Biffle found a ton of success on the West Coast late model racing scene, so much so that Jack Roush would give him the call to drive for the number 50 Granger Ford in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, beginning in the late 90s. He would win 9 races in 1999, just losing the championship to Truck Series legend Jack Sprague. In 2000, he would win the Truck Series championship, and after a stellar 2001 Busch Series season, he would win the 2002 Busch Series championship. As a rookie in the Cup Series in 2003, he would win the Pepsi 400, and he would cruise to a solid 19-win career. His fall-off, put fall-off in quotation marks, was more so the fact that Jack Roush had pretty much given up on adapting, and Greg was still a phenomenal talent, as we saw with him running very, very competitively in the SRX. Unfortunately, just before Christmas in 2025, Greg, his wife, and 2 kids, and I believe a few others, were killed in a plane accident in Statesville, North Carolina. Greg did a ton for this state of North Carolina. As a North Carolinian, he will always have a place in my heart. He will always be a North Carolinian to me. Even though he was born in Washington, I consider him one of us. Everything he did for the Helene, everything that Josh Stein refused to do for Helene, Greg Biffle did, and he did a phenomenal job of. And he will always be a legend to me. And yeah, absolutely. Remember, be like Biff. And Greg, thank you for all the memories. You're a legend. Richard Leroy Trickle, born in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin in 1941. If there was ever the epitome of a late model racing legend, it would be this man right here. With over 1,500 recorded LCQ, heat, and main event wins under his belt. And honestly, a stellar NASCAR career. I know he never won in the Cup Series, but he still has really good numbers, and he was always a solid driver. Dick Trickle made a name for himself as a tough competitor and a driver that you always had to keep an eye on. Dick Trickle was a phenomenal talent, as I previously said. Unfortunately, in 2013, we lost him as he engaged in an act of self-offing. A terrible, terrible, terrible deal. I believe that it had more to do with the medications than him himself. Dick Trickle had said plenty of times that he loved life. So why would a guy that loves his life so much, that loves what he has accomplished, take his own life? Probably because Big Pharma and the drugs made him do that. That and the painkillers that he was using for a lot of the accidents he had, doctors took advantage of him. This is why, on and on, I speak on why the FDA and the CDC and all these groups are pieces of shit. Because innocent people like Dick Trickle are victims. I was a victim of FDA, but enough about me. Dick Trickle, you'll forever be a legend. You'll forever be remembered as, in my opinion, the king of late model racing and a solid NASCAR competitor. Thank you, Richard. You're a legend. Rodney Shane Sieg Jr. was born in 1982 in Tucker, Georgia. Now, you probably haven't heard of this guy because he drove for lesser-known equipment, but he competed from 2003 until 2011, mostly in the NASCAR Truck Series, with 68 starts and 2 starts driving for Rick Ware in the Busch Series in 2004. His career, it's hard to gauge because he never drove good equipment. However, he's also known for being in NASCAR 09, driving the 08 People Against Drugs truck. Weird because that game was made in 2008, but he drove that truck at Bristol in 2007, where he did okay. But unfortunately, in 2011, he was suspended from NASCAR for violating the drug policy, and pretty much walked away from the sport after that until his tragic passing in 2017. The cause of death was never released, but I have heard some people specify it may have been a car accident, even though I couldn't find anything in the area that would prove that. But regardless, rest in peace, Rodney Shane Sieg, older brother of Ryan Sieg and Kyle Sieg, 2 phenomenal talents in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series, and it's good to see family traditions continue in motorsports. It's really the lifeline of keeping the integrity of motorsports from, all these corporates. But yeah, thank you for competing and being a great competitor, Shane. Christian Stewart Elder was born on 1968 in Minnesota. Now, you probably don't remember this guy, but he was the first guy to drive the number 38 Great Clips car in the O'Reilly Series, a car that is most synonymous with Casey Kane and the late Jason Leffler. Well, Christian drove the car in 2001 and 2002, and interestingly enough, has his own game. Yes, right here, his own game. But yeah, back on track. Christian Elder had a decent career. I don't really think he got enough experience, but a lot of that has to do with his terrible accident he had at Chicagoland in 2002 that essentially ended his career. And for years afterward, he was on pain medicine. And unfortunately, in 2007, now there's a lot of rumors going around that I've found on the internet since this happened, but it's believed that he may have used the wrong medicine of some sort and passed away in his sleep in 2007. A terrible, terrible deal. There's not much known about him other than the fact that every year a cycling event is held in his honor because Christian was huge into cycling, and you love to see that. So yeah, rest in peace, Christian Elder, and you'll forever be remembered as the original OG driver of the Great Clips car and your own game. John Wesley Townley was born in Athens, Georgia in 1989 to Tony Townley, an individual who owned several Zaxby's franchises, hence the Zaxby sponsorship. John Wesley Townley competed in NASCAR and late models at a very young age, but he would really move up the ranks starting in around 2007 to 2008, competing in late models, trucks, the Nationwide Series, attempted a Cup Series start in 2012, but did not enter, ultimately withdrawing, and another driver replaced him. While not known for having the best career, he did manage to accomplish a couple of ARCA wins and even a Truck Series victory at Las Vegas in 2015, a race I watched. His cause of death was one of great tragedy, as an altercation at an individual's house ended up with him being shot along with a woman. There's been many differing reports of what happened. So because I know very little, I'm not even going to bother specifying or speculating, whatever. But rest in peace, John West Townley. You'll never be forgotten. You'll be forever remembered as the Zaxby's guy. I know his career wasn't the best. I know that fight with Spencer Gallagher wasn't really the best look. But he has more wins than I do, so I'll go ahead and shut up about that. Thank you for the career, and you'll forever be remembered, man. Eric Wayne McClure was born in 1978 in Chilloughby, Virginia. While not exactly being the most well-known driver, he was definitely known as the driver with the Hefty and Reynolds Wrap sponsorship, competing mostly in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series for a number of years, mostly driving backmarker equipment. Unfortunately, he had very little success, but his passion and competitiveness about racing cannot be denied. He had some nasty crashes, including a 2012 Talladega crash that I believe gave him major CTE and resulting in some unfortunate off-the-track incidents. If you want to learn about that, you can find them. They're pretty easily accessible. But just know that I highly doubt Eric would have done that without the CTE from those crashes. He had some really terrible crashes. I mean, awful. This poor guy really could not catch a break. But like I said, he was definitely competitive. He loved racing. And I know some people that knew him said he was a great guy, and I don't doubt it. Thank you for the memories, Eric. Thank you for representing Hefty and Reynolds Wrap well. Hefty and Reynolds Wrap, I'm not endorsing you. I'm just saying. Talking about a guy that you have endorsed, so please don't sue me. But yeah, rest in peace, Eric. Thank you for the memories. Kevin Stokes Grubb was born in 1978 in Mechanicsville, Virginia. At a young age, it was clear that not only did he love racing, but he had talent. And in the late 90s, he competed alongside his older brother, Wayne, who currently competes in legend cars in Kentucky, North Carolina, Tennessee, and all over. But anyway, Kevin competed in the Busch Series from 1997 until 2005, I want to say. I can't remember. But he also competed sporadically in the truck series for his family team. Unfortunately, Kevin Grubb, involved in a terrible accident. NASCAR did some seriously shady stuff and revoked Kevin Grubb's license, and it spiraled out of control, and in 2009, Kevin was tragically found dead in a motel. I definitely recommend checking out Ultimate Dragon's channel and see the great thing, the video that she did for Kevin. I definitely recommend checking that out. Rest in peace, Kevin. I know he didn't have the greatest career, but him and his brother Wayne definitely were very competitive and passionate. Wayne still competing today. I don't doubt that Kevin would have had a really good career if NASCAR wouldn't have screwed him over. But just know, thank you for everything you did in your career, Kevin. Appreciate it, man. Robert John East was born in 1984 in Torrance, California. At a very young age, it was clear that he wanted to begin racing, looking up to individuals like Kevin Harvick and many other drivers from the Western United States, also like Ron Hornaday and others. He would compete sporadically in the O'Reilly Series, in the Truck Series, but he was most known for his success on the late model scene, and he accumulated great numbers and several victories. Unfortunately, in 2022, at a gas station in North Carolina, he was fatally stabbed to death by a drug fiend thug that was released by Biden onto the streets. And Bobby unfortunately passed at the hospital. A terrible, terrible deal. I remember reading this report, and it really, really enraged me. It's just, he's another example of what happens when Democrats take unchecked power. They release violent people onto the streets, and stuff like this happens. Bobby was, he was a good dude. I believe he had a family, and they lost their husband and father, all because some thug high on a bunch of drugs lost all his wits. Rest in peace, Bobby. You'll forever be remembered as a great talent. You will not be forgotten. I remember you competing in the Busch series and driving the 43 car. Was it? I don't remember who it was, but I remember you competed very well in that car. You also ran well in the trucks, in late models, obviously. So thank you for all the memories, and I'm sorry that you had to be a victim of Biden's awful system. Thank you, man, for all the memories in racing. Yeah, this is pretty much the end of the video. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If y'all want to make more videos like this, I can. Just know that because of the equipment and the setup I have, quality videos come at a premium. And I can't really upload them very often. But just know when I do, I put a lot of time, energy, and passion, like I put into this one, to honor fallen race car drivers that, we've lost. Now, you'll notice I did some lesser-known ones, not just, Dale Earnhardt or Jason Leffler or legends like that. I wanted to give some of the drivers that didn't really get a lot of recognition noticed. So, I appreciate you watching, and I hope this video also brought light to some of the problems that NASCAR has showcased. So, thank you for watching. God bless. Stay as folk. God wills. I love y'all.